Alien 3 on Sega Genesis. Alright, before I touch on the game, let me make something abundantly clear. I actually like Alien 3. As I said in my review for The Crow City of Angels, I think it's a fascinating failure. While I appreciate it as a kind of sci-fi slasher film, it does have some problems. I don't care for the setting much. Here we are, trapped in a maximum security prison with one warden, no guards, and no weapons of any kind, surrounded by murderers, rapists, and child molesters. Yeah, I can't say I care whether or not they live to see parole. Then we have the egg. How the fuck did that thing get on the Sulaco? It wasn't explained in the film, nor was it explained how the facehugger managed to impregnate two hosts. It dies after laying one in the first two movies, so how the hell was this even possible? I know Colonial Marines took a crack at this, and in my own personal opinion, it failed. Really, the hidden egg is such a cheat, Annie Wilkes would hobble the writers given half a chance.
Fuck!
In spite of it all, Alien 3 is still an entertaining flick. How does the game fare? Obviously, it's a typical side-scrolling action game. You play as Ripley, mowing down aliens and facehuggers with a pulse rifle in a desperate attempt to rescue all the rapist, murdering prisoners before time runs out. God, that sounds fucked up. As you may have noticed, the game's taken a few liberties with the source material. Instead of one alien and no guns whatsoever, there are many aliens and a whole arsenal. It's amazing. Ripley has the pulse rifle, a flamethrower, and grenades. Critics tend to let this slide like there was no other way to make a good Alien game. I disagree. They could have taken a cue from Home Alone. Make the houses, prison blocks, and the wet bandits a xenomorph. Players could set traps like air shafts or burst steam pipes, stalling the beast while you rescue the lifers. Not that Home Alone's a great game, but I'd chalk that up to execution. You see my point though, they could have done any number of things with this. Anyway, you'll hop platforms, crawl through air ducts, ride elevators, and climb ladders, looking for cocooned cons. Once you find them all, the exit will unlock. There's one level where it's pure mayhem. In fact, that's what they call it, mayhem. No prisoners to save, just gotta make it to the exit while blasting every bug in sight. In addition, we have 2 stages where you save prisoners in relative peace. Aside from the 6 boss battles, yes, 6, the other levels are simply bug hunt/rescue missions. Now that's not a bad thing. What Alien 3 lacks in variety, it more than makes up for with sheer intensity. The gameplay creates a sense of urgency consistent with the films, forcing players to conserve ammo and find prisoners as quickly as possible. Having said that, there's one issue I must address, and I'm sure it will come as no surprise. The xenomorphs. They mimic the behavior of their cinematic brethren well, but they pop out at random, leaving you little time to react. It's fucking insane. If you want to avoid taking damage, then you gotta take it slow, running in short bursts. Seeing as how time is of the essence and you still gotta save a bunch of nut jobs, this is easier said than done. Some enemies are placed in specific spots just to make your life that much harder. Yeah, so often they're perched next to a lift or a ladder. They touch you, Ripley takes damage. If you take a hit while on a lift or ladder, you'll fall, taking even more damage when you land. Worse yet, these fuckheads will sometimes respawn in the exact same spot. You have to trigger the bastard to drop, then retreat. It works, but again, this eats into your time. One way or another, you're paying a toll. Health or time. The choice is yours, and yours alone! I'm sorry, that was completely random. These tactics are made worse by some stage hazards, like the dripping acid later on in the game or these fucking chutes. I hate these levels. I mean, they're challenging enough with the time limit. Did we really need slides, fans, and acid rain? Boss battles are a bit dull. While the game refers to them as guardians, they look like queens every time. If you're gonna deviate from the movie, why not dream up some new creatures? Why not a giant chest burster or a spider alien? There's little to no variation in their attack patterns. Spit acid, hop to a platform, spit more acid, and repeat. I'm not impressed. Oh, and there's still a time limit. Wonderful. These setbacks hurt an otherwise decent game, considering how much effort they put into the environments, making them look like 16-bit screen caps from the movie. It's downright criminal. Really, Pro did an incredible job here. The morgue, candlelit tunnels, mess hall, and lead works look fantastic. They even included the abattoir from the assembly cut, where the alien burst from a bison, not a dog. In fact, if you look closely, you'll see the big cavities in their chest. Another highlight is the music. Seriously, Matt Furness outdid himself. It doesn't sound like Elliot Goldenthal's riveting score in the slightest, but these compositions are badass. I burned this shit to a CD ages ago. That's how good it is. The sound effects are great as well. Gunfire, explosions, and alien screams are on the money. I find zero fault with the presentation. If the combat had been refined, Alien 3 could have been a sterling example of movie licensed games done right. Don't get me wrong, it's not the worst movie licensed game ever made. I'd sooner give that title to Cliffhanger or Terminator 2 even. Those were dreadful. At the very least, I'd go so far as to label Alien 3 decent. I would recommend it for fans of the series, otherwise, you can skip it. Alright VidGam, this bud's for you. Alien 3 on the Master System. I'm using the EverDrive here for the sake of convenience, and I don't own a physical copy, so fuck you. Really, there's not much to say here. If you've played the Genesis game, you know the score. Blasting aliens, saving prisoners before time runs out. Same shit, different system. Regardless, I think I enjoyed this version a little more. The graphics look incredible for the platform. These levels radiate color. It makes me feel as if I'm playing a Marvel comic adaptation of the film. That, and there's still plenty of detail to be seen. Obviously, the sprites are much smaller. On Genesis, you only ever saw one level, or a level and a half if you want to get technical. With Master System, you see two. This makes it that much easier to spot enemies and prisoners. That's a real plus since you have to select the radar, or motion tracker if you prefer. In the Genesis version, that motion tracker saved me from a lot of needless climbing. The only downside is that it needed batteries in order to function. On Master System, I didn't miss it. You can see more levels now, and the stages are a lot smaller. At least they feel smaller. It may be a trick of the eye, but whatever, I'm digging it. Aliens don't pop out as much, which is nice, and they don't move as quickly. Not all the time. I'm not entirely sure if that's by design or just the lag. Yes, there's a bit of lag. You can have a lot of enemies and prisoners sharing the same screen. Once you start shooting things, the frame rate takes a hit. I don't feel it affects the gameplay though. Sometimes it can be a blessing, buying me an extra moment. There are a few surprises. Aliens have a new attack. If you look closely, you'll notice a pair of black dots. Yeah, those are aliens. Weird, right? To the game's credit, this startled me the first time. I just wasn't expecting it. Like its 16-bit Big Brother, some enemy placements are cheap and it pisses me off to no end. Still, I didn't turn the game off. You know, it may be the nostalgia snuggles I have for Master System, but I am way more forgiving of this version. Don't ask me why. Maybe it's the brighter visuals or the fact that it's much easier to play. I'm not even kidding. I killed the first few bosses without taking any damage.
Not much to say, is there? Death was instantaneous.
No shit.
I don't know. I feel like a hypocrite right now. If I have one major grievance, it's the control. You only use two buttons, though you still have to select weapons. How is that done, you ask? You press down and jump. This can suck harder than your dad because it doesn't switch to the next weapon when ammo runs dry. If this should happen during combat, and it will, you're as good as fucked. Yet, I kept playing. You know, the Genesis version isn't a terrible game. It had moments, yet, for reasons unknown, I like the Master System game more. Fuck, I like this port enough to recommend it over Genesis. You won't hear me say that often. I know, right? Alien Trilogy on Sega Saturn. Like Alien 3 on Genesis, Alien Trilogy was developed by Probe Entertainment. As luck would have it, they would go on to make Die Hard Trilogy as well. Instead of a side-scrolling bug hunt or a 3-in-1 action game, we have Doom, but with aliens. Yes, the first-person shooter. This genre has dominated the industry since 1993 with no signs of slowing. From Star Wars to James Bond, and of course Alien. Seriously, with the exception of a few handheld and PC titles, I feel like every game since Alien vs. Predator on Atari Jaguar has been a first-person shooter. It's crazy. Regardless, I was eager to play this one, blasting xenomorphs through 34 stages of sheer chaos inspired by a film series I fucking adore. Yeah, there's no way in hell I'm letting that pass. Alien Trilogy was everything I had hoped it would be. Like Doom, you navigate a maze teeming with creatures, looking for keys and unlocking doors that lead to an exit. Nothing new there, though Alien Trilogy has more to offer than a new coat of paint. You're given a specific objective with every mission, like destroying crates packed with alien specimens, collecting ID tags, or killing infected survivors. I especially like that last one. I mean, they're actually begging you to kill them. If you let them be, it's happy birthday. So fucking cool. There's a wide variety of aliens too. Aside from the eggs, face huggers, chest bursters, warriors, as well as the dog strain in its infant and adult stage, we have guards, company soldiers, and synthetics.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
As for the weapons, there's your standard pistol, a shotgun, the flamethrower, pulse rifle, and smart gun. The smart gun is my favorite, for it can fire 3 separate streams locking onto multiple targets. Of course, we have the motion tracker, which is invaluable. Enemy AI is fairly sophisticated in that they scatter like insects, avoiding your gunfire. Some of these bastards will surprise you and attack from above. That made for some tense moments because the motion tracker is telling me there's an enemy directly ahead, though I can't see him. Then I notice the ceiling moving and I'm like,
Game over, man. It's game over.
if you're a fan of the series, then I'm sure you recognize all the environments. Once again, Probe nailed the look and feel of the franchise. The steely corridors of Hadley's Hope and Aliens, the rust-covered prison of Alien 3, as well as the eroticized nightmare fuel of the first film's Derelict. It's been 20 years already, and I'm still impressed. My God, I'm old. So once you've burned through 10 levels or so, you reach the boss, a queen surrounded by her progeny. Scramble the eggs and kill the bitch. That's all there is to it. Honestly, it's disappointing. I mean, there's only 3 boss fights in the whole game. They're all queens, and she only has 1 attack, swiping at you with her claws. Your only objective here is to waste the fucker. Contrary to many criticisms I've heard over the years, these encounters are downright laughable. There's a serious lack of imagination here. Instead of destroying a queen 3 goddamn times, why not a bit where you have to fend off a strong alien warrior that attacks from hidden entries in the walls? Or how about one where you have to lure it into a furnace? Hell, where's the power loader? Let her ride a vehicle for once. You know what they could have done? Given the queen more than 1 attack. No spitting acid or beating the fuck out of you with her tail. No, it's just... Oh, even more embarrassing, there's a bunch of alcoves lining the walls. Just stay out of reach and pump her sick ass full of lead. Oh yeah, that's really hard. Headache.
How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit?
You secure that shit, Hudson.
Really, that's all there is to it. Alien Trilogy didn't set out to reinvent the wheel here, and I'm okay with that. The mission objectives do hold my interest for 34 levels of horror, and the atmosphere sets it apart from Doom in that I actually dread moving forward. I know it sounds silly, but the xenomorphs still get under my skin. They're 2D sprites, and I'm still like, fuck no, get away from me, you bitch. That's a testament to Giger's creature design as well as Probe's presentation. As I said, a lot of respect has been paid to the films and their aesthetics. Unlike so many first-person shooters that came before, stages are rendered in 3D while enemies and atmospherics like fog, fire, and steam are 2D. You may have noticed a hint of lag when shit gets real. It doesn't affect the gameplay much. Oddly enough, it sometimes enhances it, almost like slow motion. Animated textures are scattered throughout, as are stage hazards. If only there were some lighting effects. That's really frustrating because the PlayStation version used light sourcing to great effect. It's not as if the Saturn were incapable. Look at Quake or Duke Nukem 3D. I can't help but wonder why it's absent. Were there time constraints or something? I don't know. Regardless, it spoils the mood somewhat. Probe even changed one of the mission objectives here to accommodate this. You're supposed to switch on all the lights in the PlayStation version. On Saturn, you simply power up a few control panels. It works, yes, it's just not as scary. Another problem I have is the audio. Sound effects were ripped straight from the movie, which is great, but for whatever reason, the audio doesn't cycle correctly. Look at the pistol. I'm firing rapidly, though you only hear every other shot. Again, this wasn't a problem on PlayStation. On the bright side, if you'll pardon the pun, the Saturn version's nowhere near as dark. I'm only squinting half the time, thankfully. Also, textures look a tad sharper and color is more vibrant. These aren't game-changing issues. Alien Trilogy is still a fun game no matter which platform you prefer. If you want a good old-fashioned bug hunt, Alien Trilogy's right up your alley. Just make sure there's plenty of room on your memory card. Otherwise, you'll have to rely on that password system.
Is he fucking crazy?
Get away from her, you bitch!